It's Sunday, the 22nd of August, 2021. This evening show we give our reaction to our superb Lazarus-esque comeback from the dead as Poole recover from a two-goal half-time deficit to snatch what turned out to be a well-deserved point against the big spending Bournemouth at Dean Court / the Vitality Stadium. And I'm John Asperall, this is the Seasiders podcast match reaction show. Bournemouth 2, Blackpool 2. Good evening, everybody. Sunday evening on the Seasiders podcast. What could be better? You've watched Country File. You didn't think it could get any better than that, but it just has. The Seasiders podcast has gone live. Tim, welcome.
Evening, everybody. I think you can probably tell my voice is a little hoarse today, and that's no little part in yesterday's events because I think as everybody who perhaps was able by fair or foul means to listen to what was going on from afar, you will have heard us all in very fine voice, and my throat and larynx are suffering as a consequence today.
Well worth it though, Tim, I guess.
I put a tweet out last night. That's actually up there with one of my favourite away games. That for many a moon, and as we're going to go on to discuss, I think the fans played a huge part in it. So I'm really glad I made the effort. I had to, as no doubt we might go on to talk about, had a rather convoluted route to Bournemouth, but it was well worth it.
Making up for not going up to Bristol City away on the opening day of the season.
Yeah, listen. When you make your way to the south coast via a boat, a supercar, and the train, I think that gets me a few brownie points, surely.
Okay, fair enough. I'll let you off. Planes, Trains and Automobiles 2, starring Tim Fielding and Ashley Knowles, is being pressed to DVD as we speak. Featuring Matt Smith.
I think Paul Bus was John Candy without a shadow of a doubt, and I was Steve Martin.
Matt Smith's not joining us this evening. He had a terrible journey on the way back. Car broke down, and I believe he spent the evening in Oxford Services, which sounds extremely grim. So well done, Matt, for
extremely grim. And you paid £200 a room for the privilege as well, from what we could gather, which makes it even grimmer. Do
you think?
And I felt really guilty because he went in our private chat and said, "Oh, stuck at Oxford Services," because I think they were struggling to get back, weren't they? Because the number, for the benefit of those who don't know, the car broke down, so it ended up on the back of a transporter. They get as far as Oxford Services, and me and Bus are flying past in his machine, and about 10 minutes later, I get this message from Matt saying that we're stuck at Oxford Services and we can't get home. I'm thinking if I could have really done with seeing that a little bit earlier, but I think he said he was committed to staying anyway, wasn't he?
That's not what he sent to me, Tim. He sent me a text saying there was these pair of aging tossers in this BMW drove past at high speed, beeping the horn and giving the tosser sign out the windows. And they both had Blackpool tops on.
And obviously he's got it wrong. It must have been some other two tossers from Blackpool because we were in Bus's supercar, not my car. So,
what's his supercar? What's he got?
He's got this Porsche Panamera, which is very nice, I have to say. And if you're going to have to travel a long distance, it's a very, very pleasant way of doing it.
How the other half live, Mitch? You're muted, by the way.
Yeah, so I just drove back in a mid-range estate car. We're on eventful, so not a lot to say.
At least it got there, and got back.
It did. I was sulking because I was in a traffic jam on the M6 somewhere around Chester, and I thought I'd be clever and ignore Google Maps. You know, it tells you to go another way, and it's like, I know better. And I was in a right sulk, so I stopped at the next services because I needed a wee, and then I saw Matt was still stranded in the lay-by with his... But didn't he have a kebab van and some beer, though, to save him or something like that?
It was the best kebab van was the livery on the said food outlet. The best kebab, it was called. So at least he's landed on his feet there, hasn't he?
It could have been
well,
worse.
assuming it was the best kebab. I mean, I probably did rub it in a bit when I sent him a picture of me and Bus in a Turkish restaurant in back in Southampton with a glass of rather pleasant red, just winding down after the night's events.
I will wager, Tim, that you had the best kebab that night.
I suspect I did.
Poor Matt, he's not on air. We're ripping him to shreds. I'm sure he'll see the funny side one day. Welcome, Sean, as well. Sean, we've only had the indignity of watching it on the aftermatch replay, haven't we? No, neither of us were in attendance.
No, I couldn't go through that journey, I don't think, no, but watched it back and it was obviously a good game.
Certainly was. So, listeners, viewers, etc., you've not tuned into this to listen about tales from the M6, Turkish kebabs, or breakdowns.
It's quite fun.
Yeah, it is actually, yeah. Should we talk about it some more? Have we got any sound effects of cars or anything? I'll talk while I'm typing. Right, let's go on about the game then. Starting 11. I've got in a nice graphic this time. Sean, come to you first, because we had a good chat about this on the preview show, didn't we, on Thursday? So I'll just read out the actual starting 11, which was Maxwell, Connolly, Ekpiteta, Husband, Garbett, Bowler, Dougal, Ward, Anderson, and Yates and John Jewell. So the BBC site there has got it listed as a 4-4-2. Is that the way you foresaw, you sort of witnessed it in the game you watched?
Yeah, I think John Jewell's perhaps sitting a little bit deeper the first probably half an hour or so, trying to collect the ball from deep or pinning himself out wide and sort of interchanging with Anderson when we've got the ball, trying to play it out long from the back. But yeah, it looked like a settled 4-4-2 really to me.
Yep. So we talked about Garbett, didn't we, being dropped from the team? Well, I did anyway. He was kind of my pick to have him removed from the left, and Connor suggested we should play Lavery on the left. So Critchers completely ignored us there. How dare he?
Yeah, well, we went for the 4-2-3-1, didn't we? And Lavery playing is almost like a, as we said on the pod, it's like this sort of fluid interchange between the three of the attacking midfielders, and that's how we've tended to play when we've played a 4-2-3-1. Everyone's sort of moving around the position, so no one's in a set position. With Garbett, obviously, as we'll come on to, he's probably at fault for one, if not both, of the goals, and we already know that his positional sense isn't the best as a fullback in a flat back four, especially when we're playing a team where we're going to have times where we're sitting back deep. That's not his game. It's never been his game. He likes to win the ball up high up the park. It's whenever he wins interceptions or turnovers, it's always been around the halfway line. It's never been, you never expect Garbett to be one that faces up the winger and is able to stop a cross. And obviously that's where he's sort of come stuck there in the back four, and Husband playing him perhaps as a set defensive fullback in games like this will probably be the better option, as obviously we'll come on to. Husband, although he was shaking the first half, made a couple of vital defensive moves that ended up sort of being the catalyst really for us coming back into the game.
Certainly did. Mitch, if you cast your eyes to the screen there, any thoughts on the team actually put out?
Well, I think the main thing is I was delighted to see Marvin in. I mean, I don't think we need to say any more about the other centre half choice. I think we've covered that in depth. I was very happy to see Marvin in, and yeah, I was a bit disappointed that Lavery didn't start, but you know, we're away from home. John Jewell comes a bit deeper, and you can see the logic in it. So yeah, it was hopeful.
Tim, over to you. Just we were going about the game then. We were discussing whether to put in Oliver Casey at centre half. And we were kind of saying Husband's better as a pure left back, and he's more effective in that position. So I just think it's justified maybe to be looking at sticking Casey in there.
Yeah, I mean we're not really seeing a lot of him yet to form a view as to how good he is and how well he's going to fit into our system a bit. And having brought Ekpiteta in today, thankfully, and dispensed with Keogh. I didn't have the misfortune to watch his performance against Coventry, but based on Sean's analysis, I think it was one to miss.
Damning indictment. I think
that's called. That's the polite way of putting it, isn't it? I think it was an assassination job on him, but I suspect justified as well. So I think probably bringing both him and Ekpiteta in to the centre back in a game against a team who, let's be right, will be there or thereabouts at the end of the season was probably a change too many. And I endorse sort of I've always been an advocate of playing three at the back, and I think at some point we're going to need to move to that to get the best out of the players we've got. But and Husband then is on the left hand side of the three, but he's been very, very consistent this season, and I don't think you're going to take him out the. If he's committed to playing a back four, he's not going to drop Husband, and as I said, I think bringing a new centre back partnership in for this game was probably pushing it a bit. I think you're going to try it. You'll try it on the Tuesday night against Sunderland, I would have thought. But my other observation was, again, disappointment about Lavery. We'll go on to talk about John Jules' contribution later on. But actually, I feel a bit more positive about him after watching his performance.
I think it's his
Saturday, I've got to say.
Best performance so far.
Particularly after watching it. To be honest, when you're there, it's a bit weird. I don't know what Matt's thoughts were, but I know she call him Mitch now. He's got his celebrity name. He's like one of these. It's his stage name now, isn't it? You got caught.
His mates call him that now.
Hello,
is that right, Mitch?
I haven't got any of them, but yeah.
No, came your way.
It was. I was recognised by a gentleman in front of me who said, "Are you Mitch Cook's left foot?" And I answered, "Yeah, I am." And then I remembered that I'm not actually Mitch Cook's left foot in a literal sense. But yeah, little did I know, in 1992, sat in the West Stand on those wooden seats watching Mitch Cook play against Maidstone, that 29 years later I would be naming myself against after a part of his body and answering to strangers.
I'll tell you what, the next ex-player interview we get on here has to be Mitch Cook. If anyone watching this knows any line into him, any of his mates or anything, this has to happen. Right, anyway, go on. What?
No, I was just going to say, because the actual point I was going to make was, and I know what Matt's view of it is, that when I actually watched the game, I didn't. Mitch, go on.
Oh yeah, right.
I didn't quite appreciate in the same way as I've done after watching it back about John Jules' contribution, and it's amazing when you do watch a game back after being there live, you pick up on the little nuances of how somebody's playing and what contribution they actually make that you perhaps didn't quite appreciate during the course of the game, particularly when you're singing and the sun's in your eyes and you're at a relatively low level in the ground. So yeah, it was an interesting comparison to make. Just watched it back this afternoon.
Yeah, definitely. I only watched the 10-minute highlights, and even on those, the quality of those two through balls, which we'll come to later, was something, because they were deeper in the move as well. So you don't necessarily you normally see who crosses the ball. You don't necessarily see the ball two back, do you? So definitely, I think that came true.
It's a great option, isn't it? Now we've now got for the measly sum of £2 per month to watch the entire game back. It's like Tim says, you do. You just miss things, don't you, when you're at the game? And doesn't help when you've had about 5-6 pints as well, does it? The game tends to pass you by.
I'm not suggesting for 1 minute I had 5 or 6 pints, but if I had, yes, it would have an influence.
Or equivalent in G&T's.
Actually, I didn't touch the G&T yesterday, to be fair. It was I was with some, actually one of them was on the thread tonight, Paul. I was with some Bournemouth lads who I met in Germany, and they took me to the Spoons in town, and then to a rather splendid pub that sold Kolsch, which for the connoisseurs out there of lager is the Cologne brew. So yeah, he's there. You see Paul T there. He's thanks again for your hospitality yesterday, Paul.
So you were spooning with some German fans that you met in Bournemouth.
German beer.
Was that page that came on the preview show, the AFC Bournemouth Germany? Did they have any connections with that?
I don't think so. We met Paul. We've both been to watch Schalke together, and we just got chatting on the train and ended up going out on the lash in Dusseldorf, and then we went to both go to the same game the following day at Bochum and to watch Bochum St. Pauli, and so we just
he's not going to go off on about again German football events, is he? Come on, Tim.
Anyway, the reason why we're drinking Kolsch was because it's one of the local brews out there, so I couldn't possibly have a G&T in those circumstances.
Tim's German football Owen style monologues.
I'll convert you all eventually.
Steve Hutchins says that he thinks the club's selling themselves short for £1.99 per month. Absolute bargain. Yeah, I agree, Steve. It's a decent service. Right, Mitch, onto the game then. Sean said in the preview show, and this was backed up by our Bournemouth fan, John, that Bournemouth play with these two absolute shit-hot wide men, cutting in, creating multiple chances. We kind of did all right for the first 2 minutes, and these two wingers took hold of the game, didn't they, within the first 10 to 15 minutes? More or less destroyed us. And a tweet I put out, we're facing these two shit-hot wide men, renowned, playing a team that's renowned for this style of play, and we've got two non-fullbacks playing fullback in Garbutt and Connolly, so we didn't really set ourselves up very well to deal with them, I thought.
I think the main thing I took away from the goal itself and the first 5-10, they all seem to blend into one, but we just seem to be on the back foot. We just seem to be the first goal. Garbutt got caught out. Well, Garbutt got caught out of position. There was so much backpedaling, but that was the first. Like you say, we had 90 seconds of decent possession, and then we just seemed to be panicking as they ran at us and sort of standing off. And I noticed Husband after the first goal sort of came out and had a right good shout at everybody, sort of what's going on, and we just looked ripped to bits by them very early. And I honestly thought after the first, what was 19 minutes, the second goal went in, I thought, oh, this is going to be 6, but it wasn't, as we'll discuss.
Tim, talk us about the first goal, and Dominic Solanke's drilled one in. It's the far corner. An easy goal in the end.
Well, I think there's two players that we look at who perhaps had opportunities to cut that out and didn't. First of all, you got Garbutt, and he seems to almost watch. I forgot which Bournemouth player it was now. Watch the player bring it down on his foot. He had all the time in the world, stood off him, and that created the initial opportunity. And then to be fair, I thought Husband closed down quite ineffectually. Is there number 19 who ends up then sliding it through to Selensky. I think I pronounced that right.
Stanislaus, wasn't it?
Oh, sorry, was
laid
it?
him in. Yeah.
And then he evades Garbutt's attempt to block him the second time and slots home. So, yeah, I mean, I think we've got to look ourselves from a defensive perspective there and say, look, we had 2 chances to deal with that, and neither kept, well, 3 if you include the attempt to block the shot, and we didn't do it very well. And so, yeah, I feared for us at that time. I actually thought we were going to get a whooping yesterday, and obviously we didn't. But at that point, and as we go on and talk about the second, it looked rather ominous.
So, as Sean, as Tim's just said there, it did look like we were going to get a thumping. It was a scoreline that we were all predicting, Connor aside, on the preview show. It did look extremely worrying, didn't it? After they scored their first, they looked like they could just score at will.
Yeah, and it was interesting that the majority of their attacks were coming down our left-hand side, because if you look at the actual setup of their team, they had Chris Mepham at right back, who's obviously naturally a centre half, and he's not really one that's going to bomb forward. So they played Stanislas in the central midfield 3, and obviously he's normally an attacking midfielder stroke wide man, so he's more of an attacking option. So they'd clearly done that because they thought they would have the run of the midfield with just the two of Kilkenny and Billing, and that would be enough to overawe Dougal and Ward, leaving Stanislas free to back up Brooks on the right-hand side. And obviously, if you essentially got two wingers coming at you, which is what Garbett had, then he's on a hard into nothing when he's not the most defensively capable fullback anyway. It's a natural. Because obviously, you look on the opposite side, they had Zamora bombing down, overlapping. And obviously they had Jadon Anthony as well cutting inside on Connolly, but Connolly did a fine job. I thought Connolly was superb all game through. I think there wasn't a successful dribble from Jadon Anthony at all in that game. And if you look at the quality that he's had this season, he's been their main spark this season. And obviously everyone was a bit overawed the first 15 or so minutes, but when you're looking at what actually happened and where they broke through us, the majority of the time it was on that left hand side. But again, if we're gonna lose out by individual mistakes, it's when players aren't in their natural positions. We know that longer term, we're probably going to be okay because you're not going to be playing players out of their natural positions for the majority of the season.
I just wanted to go off what Sean said there. I thought Connolly was very good defensively. I agree. I felt very solid with him there. But what I did think was, and it's something I've thought every time I saw him play, was that we kept pressure on ourselves because he just doesn't go forward like a fullback. Defensively, he plays well. And there were several times when we brought pressure back on ourselves, when we'd done the passing across the back thing. And then you sort of go like it was, the ball was there for Connolly to go, and Turton would have been down the flank and the ball would have been out. And Connolly he wasn't reading that. So I think although he played very well against his man, I think sort of positionally you could still see the weakness of having him at right back, if that makes sense.
I do wonder with Connolly there whether that was an instruction because Bowler's not one that's going to trap back.
Maybe,
Bowler's not, and he sort of Bowler was sitting high and wide the entire game, regardless of the pressure we were facing, almost like he was the out ball that we were going to have. So I do wonder if perhaps the instruction was for him to just be a natural defender and just do what he does best. But obviously, as we know, longer term, we can't have that when we're trying to play out from the back against other teams, like you say.
It kind of makes sense though for this game, doesn't it?
I don't know if Tim noticed this bit, but obviously Bowler was on our side that time, and a couple of times in that half, he looked really lost. He actually looked quite confused when when the ball was in transition. He looked a bit like I'm really not sure where he should be, and whether Connolly was sitting in under instructions or actually just improvising with Bowler, because I thought Bowler had a very good game in one element. In other games, in other ways, he looked quite uncomfortable.
I think they were playing some sublime football at that stage, weren't they? I mean, they were really controlling the tempo. There were some first-time balls going out to wings, and I actually wrote down that we looked like starry-eyed groupies watching a boy band. You know, we were almost like in awe of what we were seeing at that point. And I think, and it's probably some of these players who haven't played probably at a decent level before now, probably just took time to adjust to the pace of it and to adjust to what was going on. I think he most certainly was one of them. And I think there were others out there, you know, I think John Jules, and I think, I think even Dougal struggled in that early phase. Again, perhaps we're not having many games under his belt, but as the game went on, obviously, as we go on to talk about, they all started to realise that they weren't. Yeah, yes, they're a good team, but we're quite capable of competing with them, and at some stages in the game, actually doing to them what they were doing to us at that point in time. But it could have gone horribly wrong in that first 30 minutes if we hadn't got a grip, and we did, and thankfully. I also one thing I want to say is, and it's not going to be the only time I say it tonight, but I thought the reaction of the Blackpool fans to us going 1-0 down reminded me a little bit of Wembley, where we almost like up the volume. And when you listen to the game back, it was a constant throughout the game was the support from the stands, and I think that was important because the players can hear that. And I actually remember Jerry when they were taking the knee. If anybody looks back at it, there's a chant going around, and I've forgot which one it was now. But he's already in the beat of what's going on off the pitch, And that thing just reinforces to me that how important that we can be as fans when you are under the cosh like that to sort of reinforce the point, let's just dig in and get through this. And I think we did dig in and get through it. And I think the fans on the sideline played a part in that.
They did actually mention that on the radio, Tim. I listened to the Radio Lancs coverage of it, and the comms were extremely complimentary of the Blackpool fans. Paul, your mate there, says Blackpool fans were superb, even at 1 and 2-0 down. So yeah,
I was going to say
really,
as well.
It really does help, man.
With the Cardiff game at home, obviously I was sat in sort of right next to the Cardiff fans for that, and when they went 1-0 up, it was that mental reaction to the left ear, just scored a goal, but then suddenly this just burst of life from the right hand side, and it was quite emotional really for me. I think I got goosebumps really listening to that, because it's sort of like, yeah, we've arrived now. This is awesome. It's just different, isn't it? We always say it's just different for us. It'll mean more to us than it will to anyone else because of obviously everything we've been through, and you can tell in moments like that it's just different.
Well, you saw it as well with Coventry, didn't you? They were brilliant, and after that game, I spoke to quite a few Coventry fans online, and that was all the shit they've been through as well. I think there is that thing where there's a few clubs that have that special thing, and you can tell them. Tranmere, what was the game just before lockdown with Tranmere, and they'd been out the league and back, and it's always got that bit more. And I think Critch has been brilliant with this, because he's done quite a few interviews, hasn't he, where he's been really praising the fans and how we're the 12th man and all of that. And I think it's very canny of him, because I think he is basically setting up what he wants from us, and I think it's brilliant psychology, because we haven't actually played in front. Critch hasn't played in front of us that much, but he's been saying how wonderful the fans are and how we're the 12th man and how we get behind him and we never give up. And he's kind of fed that into us, if that makes sense. And I think it's very clever of him. I don't know. Am I being cynical with that?
I was going to say, did you read that in John Stevenson's book, Matt? That was
no, I could read an extract.
Go on, hold it up. Go on.
Well, we're currently on page 75, which is 3.10.2 people metrics. So we'll do a pod special on it one day.
I think we'll bang that on to one of the extra time shows. You're in agreement there. Completely agree about Critch Mitch, and that rhymes. Critch Mitch. Right, we've not talked about the second goal yet. Tim, another one from Dominic Salamanki, close ranger. Can you remember that? If you weren't supping German hipster.
Yeah, I think the first thing that we'd actually won the ball back from one of their attacks, and perhaps with hindsight, was at the time I thought Garb had an absolute mare. He did give the big possession away, but I don't think it looked quite as bad when I watched it back. But nevertheless, he's got the ball. He tries to play it to whoever it was, and it gets intercepted. And next thing we know, the ball's going down the right hand side. The cross comes in, and a glancing sort of he almost like stoops to glance the header home, doesn't he? The striker, and we are look at that point for me dead and buried. And it probably, and to be fair, it was probably what Bournemouth deserved at that point. They were so in command of the game that it almost seemed inevitable that second goal was going to come.
Sean, it was as Tim just said, inevitable, and I think they were well on top. And did you ever think in your wildest dreams at that point of the game it would get back into it?
I think I was ready to delete all of my optimistic tweets from the morning at that point, but I thought the positives that I was taking that it was individual errors, and it wasn't a case of I don't think we were necessarily blown away. I think it was just positional sense and a bit of timing of them. I think this season what we're clearly learning as we go along is the timing of when we press out. I think from the back sometimes you see us pressing the striker aggressively when they get the ball into them to hold it up. And by the time we've actually got there and sort of engaged the press, they've already played it round us and turned us in behind. And I think we're getting used to the pace of it, because in League One, it was a lot easier to do that than it is in the Championship, just purely because of there's much clever players, much better technically the players in this division. So I think we're learning that as we go along. And I think Husband was kind of culpable of that. Not for one of the goals, I can't remember which one it was, but that was where we kind of got turned in behind. And once you get turned in behind by Bournemouth, they got an exposure, and that's the difference, really. But I didn't think we were playing that badly, and I don't think we played that badly throughout the entire first half, really. It was just that in those moments where that's where you level, you will learn and improve from, is just the timings of things and the positional sense. We were just a yard off things sometimes.
We actually, I thought, just straight after their second goal, we had our best spell of the first half, where I think we had a flurry of chances. I think we started with that free kick from Garbutt that forced a half decent save off the Bournemouth keeper. But we had that Ekpiteta chat. I don't know, I'm getting too ahead of myself. We had Ekpiteta at the back post, and then heading back, and Keshi had a shot.
Bowler.
Yeah, and Bowler was in there. And then, but I just wrote down great spell, and I hadn't perhaps quite appreciated it being actually at the game. But when I watched it back, I thought, gosh, we had about 3 or 4. And we had that mystical chance that I thought that Yates had that he clearly didn't. I was asking you all about just before the game, where was that? But there was probably 3 or 4 chances during that period after their second goal where we could maybe have got one back before half time and didn't. And perhaps, but we were a bit unfortunate, I think.
Oh, Matt's just popped up. He's back then. Welcome, Matt. Have you made it back, or are you sending this YouTube Wi-Fi message from the Hoxford Hotel Wi-Fi?
From the Travel Tavern.
Yeah, he's ended up in Linton Travel Tavern.
Go ask him about RAC breakdown, because I think he might start a rant on.
He's dismantling the Corby trouser press as we speak. Matt's just said, ironically, our best first half of the season, yet 2-0 down. Is that a fair shout?
Well, that's one of the things, isn't it? Is we're sort of attuned to League One football from the last 2 years, and you can, like Sean said before, you can play reasonably well, and you can get done with better teams. Against Coventry, it was the first game I'd been to, as I'd missed the first few, and I took my lad, and he doesn't really watch any other football. He doesn't really watch it on telly. If you sort of asked him about Messi or Ronaldo, he wouldn't really have a clue. After 10 minutes, he just turned to me and went, this team is much better than the teams we played last year, Dad, aren't they? And I said, why? And he went, the faster, the quicker, the better at passing, and the better at heading. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty comprehensive. They are. And it is, and it is quite interesting seeing it through his eyes. He's not coming in with any agenda or any expectations.
Already football hips. Already football hips.
No. He's not talking about, he's not sort of talking about transitioning through the thirds or anything. He's just going, they're better than the...
That was XG.
He's not. Or expected XG or whatever that new one is. What's the new one? Expected threat. Yeah.
XS.
Yeah. He's just
XG's
going...
got XXL.
Yeah.
We need XL now, don't we?
And I think there was a bit of that. And I think, like we said before, it's a little bit like our players doing that as well. Sort of, wow, around you. We kind of said that before. Anyway.
We will look at the XG, Luke. We'll always look at the XG. We'll burn it into your eyes, the XG, until you only know code in your brain.
Our resident stats man will assure this will happen, Luke. So stay tuned for that. Right, lads, second half. Could have been out of the game, Tim, quite easily if it wasn't for a bit of magic. Last-ditch defending from Mr. Topknot and a good follow-up clearance, tidying up from our wonderful goalkeeper.
Yeah, it could literally have been. I thought we'd actually started the half quite well, to be honest, because Grant Ward balloon one over, didn't he? I think in the first minute. And but then we get into the situation where Bournemouth are clear through. Looked like the hat trick was coming, and to be fair to Husband, he just gets the slightest
brilliant tackle,
touches.
wasn't it? Brilliant recovery.
I thought the striker was a bit a bit slow taking his shot off. But it was what a great recovery. And then Maxwell smothered the second chance. And I think that sort of acted as a bit of a catalyst for what we were to go on to see. In the, I think we took a great deal of heart from that. And but yeah, at 3-0, and it'd been, it'd been all over by the shouting, wouldn't it? To be honest.
That challenge is exactly what I like about Husband, and I will always stick up for him. He's not the greatest player that's ever played football, and he seems to get stick from people, but he just never gives up. And when I watched that back, it was one of them that got better because he starts so far back, and he's not exactly. He's not the fastest player in the world either, is he? No. And he just went, and it was beautiful time, and it was absolutely beautiful because it's from behind as well, which is...
Could have easily took the man out.
Yeah.
And found himself red carded, yeah.
And it's not like he's not got a history of that either, is it? It's not like that's not hanging over him, but he went for it anyway. And I'll always stick up for us.
Do you think what happened last year with those
just about to say
cards,
this, Tim, what you're,
I was almost like made him a better player because he maybe thinks a little bit more than he did. And,
well, it's the hair, isn't it? Since he turned into sort of since he went to India on his gap year, then he's become much more philosophical.
He's been drinking some of those strange brews that Sean's drinking.
I was going to say with Husband's. Like you were saying about the red cards last season, it was every time it was the positional sense last season that we struggled with Husband with the high line. He just wasn't sort of getting used to it, and you saw that since those red cards, he was more smart and in that sense. But he was getting guided through the game as well with people beside him. And I think, look, longer term, at the end of the day, once we've got a fully fit squad, he's probably third or fourth choice centre half, and he's a brilliant third or fourth choice centre half. The end of the day, I think if you're going to play Husband at centre half for the rest of the season, he's probably going to end up getting exposed more so than others would. But like Matt says, his recovery, his ability to recover when we pretty much wrote him off about 4 separate occasions is quite remarkable, really. And I think you need that in a dressing room, that sort of resilience, especially with the way we want to play. I think with as well, just coming on to obviously that last ditch tackle. I think before that, when we were in that spell and we were 2-0 down, something that really set the tone, I think, as well, was the way that Ekpiteta just continued to take risks with the ball, continued to push out high, continued to engage their strikers when we could quite easily have continued to get turned in behind and have conceded another 2 or 3. At the end of the day, it was a free hit, this Bournemouth away game. And Ekpiteta carrying on doing those things, much like he did against Man City in that friendly. It was similar when we conceded the early goal. He sets the tone of we're still going to take these risks. We're still going to try the plan. We're not going to go and sort of go away from it and go into our shells. And I think if it had been a certain someone else in there, God only knows what would have happened.
Well, I glibly asked the question to be hilarious. Haha. I asked the question with no Keogh in the side, who's going to point at things now? And actually, what I thought was that Marvin was more vocal than I've ever seen him before, and there was a maturity that just wasn't there at the start of last year. And even when he was playing very well, he was often playing alongside quite a dominant player like Ballard, and he'd do his own business. But there was quite a few times when he was really leading the defence. He was pointing, he was shouting, and that was nice to see from him.
It's really interesting that
much. Connolly doing that as well. Sorry to interrupt, John.
No, I'm just saying it's really interesting that, because I know exactly what you're saying there, Mitch. He was a bit kind of like the new kid in school almost, wasn't he, last season? And just taking the lead. Yeah,
he leads by example as well, and that's where I always, because the whole experience debate. I mean, what's Marvin Ekpiteta, 24? It's like 25. You learn. Yeah, 25. It's like you learn from your experience and you lead by example. I think that's what you want. People don't want the 35-year-old man at the back who's just telling everyone what to do. They want you to lead by example and be able to trust that you have the capabilities that when they do take risks on the ball in midfield, you will sweep it up and recover from it if they do get dispossessed. And that's what we need in the team. And you can see with players like Marvin Ekpiteta, and I mean, when Gretterson comes back as well, if they form that partnership again that they had, we'll be absolutely fine at the back. So you need those sorts of people. And we are seeing that there's a lot of young leaders in this team that have come on and leaps and bounds in the past year or so. And obviously Connolly's come in. He's got his captain experience from Fleetwood. We are bringing in leaders, not necessarily of age, but I don't think that matters because they lead by example on the pitch as well.
But isn't it lovely? Because this time last year in the pod, we were going, there's no leaders in this squad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's the point. Yeah. That's the point. You're looking, if you look now, because Husband is sort of captain material, isn't he? He leads by. If Ekpiteta's developing that, and we know Conley. I mean, Conley to be captain of Fleetwood when he was only on loan there is quite telling, I think, isn't it? That clearly they rated his abilities to lead. I know we're stepping forward a bit, but when Grant Ward got injured, I noticed on the replay that he spent the whole of that period talking to Bowler and they were clearly talking about where Bowler needs to position himself. And he's obviously passing on his experience and really saying, as the right back, this is where I need you to be, and this is where I don't want you to be. And it was quite interesting just to watch that. And it's really a captain type person telling somebody who's, probably not, he's only got the games under his belt really that he's played for us, hasn't he? He's not got a lot of experience. Just, how to play that second half out to make sure that we hopefully got the result that we deserved.
And then the first goal set us on to the result that we deserved was this man, James Husband. First goal in 3.5 years. And just for the benefit of the audio pod, I'm just flashing up a graphic of James Husband doing a golf shot, a golf follow through with a big caption of goal over it. What the fuck's that all about? I mean, that's almost as weird as the Richard Keogh one.
Well, I was going to say, we'll never see that, will we? Never see the light of day of that on a free Brighton match, will we?
Oh, ye of little faith, sure.
But the goal from James Husband, it was a tidy finish, wasn't it? It was very easy to miss the ball coming back off the post at that kind of speed. Tim or Mitch, do you want to?
Well, I think we're missing something by jumping straight to the goal because it came from a corner, and I got really cross because I think it was a corner. It was on the corner of the ball.
Free kick it was actually.
Free kick in the corner. I got really cross because we fanned about, played it across the box, and then it ended up with Marvin on the right wing. And I said to the bloke next to me, what's he going to do with it? And he skins his man and gets fouled, and that's where the goal came from. And it was just one of those moments.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah. What was he doing out there? It was weird.
He sold him this beautiful little dummy, and they used to take his legs.
Do you know, I had to keep stopping it and looking back to see who it was because I thought, who the hell's that there on the right wing? And never even crossed my mind it would be.
That's what he wants. He does exactly what he wants. He's just a class act. If that doesn't show coolness personified of him, I don't know what does, because that he's capable of that. He'll take risks, and to be fair, he'll probably do that in his own 6-yard box at some point, and we'll concede a goal. But it's fun. It's just fun watching him play.
As for the goal itself, Tim, talk us through it.
Yeah, so Garbett plays in a decent free kick. Garbett does what Garbett does, doesn't he? And to be honest, I replayed it twice, and I'm still not quite sure whether it's John Jules or the defender who gets the touch that sends it onto the post, but one of them does.
I'm pretty sure it was the defender. I think.
Yeah, it was flicked up. There was some form of flick on in the middle, which I couldn't really see particularly clearly. And I think you're probably right, John. It comes on. The defender knocks it onto the post, comes back out, and Husband does quite he uses his gymnastic skills, doesn't he, to sort of wrap his foot around the ball from a not a great starting position. And as you say, it would be very, very easy to miss that. And stabbed it home into an empty net, and it was great for him and great for us because I think we had come out of that in that second half for some purpose, and we were playing far with far more confidence in our own abilities, I think, and Dougal and Grant Ward were doing the business in the centre midfield, and the guys down the respective wings were keeping possession for us in a way that we perhaps hadn't done in the first half. So I thought it was well deserved, and caused much merriment in the stands.
Yeah, much merriment. Josh Bowler had a really good chance a minute beforehand, if anyone remembers. It was a he kind of came in at an angle, and it was a powder puff shot.
It was the worst finish ever. It was the worst finish ever, wasn't it? And we should John Jules got held back, but he played the through ball anyway. He got the ball through anyway. The ref literally went, "Okay, I'll play." He could see him signal advantage. Bowler just passed it to the keeper, and then the ref went, "Oh well, okay, carry on anyway."
It was a great advantage from the ref, actually, wasn't it? Because I'd noted that down, that if the ref plays a good advantage, he was just like, and it's just that like last ball with him at the moment. And going back to the last pod I was on, I sort of said he reminded me a little bit of Wes Hoolahan, and he still does, in that he's not the finished article by any stretch of the imagination. If he was, he wouldn't be with us anyway. But he's really, really exciting to watch, and you never know what he's going to do next. And that's a great thing about having him on the pitch, I think, because the opposition most certainly don't know what he's going to do either.
There was that moment when he was on the far right, and there's about 3 players around him, and wiggled his way in and out and got past them all. You couldn't really see much because it was dark. Was
that the one where he went past everybody and then wellied it about 10 yards wide? It was an equally bad finish.
Do you remember what we always used to say about AD Forbes? He's great, but he's got no end product. That's what we used to say about him. So hopefully he doesn't tread the same path as AD.
Obviously, the thing with Bowler, as we say, he's probably got a long way to go when it comes to his finishing, but because of the amount of chances he's creating, I imagine that it doesn't really matter if he goes through and misses 2 chances a game, but then he creates 5 chances per game. Then it's going to even out where it doesn't matter at all about his goals in the first place anyway. Because at the rate he's going at the moment, I mean, he's got the 3rd highest expected assists in the league so far this season for 90.
I knew that was coming. He's got, and he had, and I'll bring another. Got 7 successful dribbles out of 9 attempted. So he only was dispossessed twice when he did that. And the second highest player on the pitch was David Brooks, and he only had 3. So more than double. So if you look at the amount of money that people, he's a good player as well, wasn't he, Brooks?
David Brooks,
he's a great player.
They paid what, £12 million for David Brooks, and how good David Brooks looked doing something like that. And I mean, he was fouled 5 times in the second half. And when you're able to draw fouls like he can, high up the park like that, that's a massive asset to have. He's good at knowing when to draw the foul. And I think if you look at Callum O'Hare from Coventry, like in midweek, he's a similar sort of player for that. And I think that going forward, Bowler doing that will be a big benefit as well.
Well, one other quick point I liked about him was that actually it was really encouraging to see that he did make some, I thought, quite poor mistakes in that game, but I was really encouraged by the fact that his head didn't go down and that he'd just go again, and I think that's really, really important,
Get him the ball and make something happen, doesn't he? Get the ball to him. Something's going to happen. He's going to take the pressure off the defence by going past the man. You need that in a team.
And he'll do it again and again and again.
So back to the game. What was the goal on? The goal was on 57 minutes, and unbelievably, Tim, 2 minutes later, we've gone down the other end. Keshi's been slipped in, great run into the box, been blindsided by the defender, and I was screaming for the penalty on the replay.
Yeah, I think it was justified as well, and there was also good work from John Jules in the build up to that. I thought, because he played the ball through to Keshi. For the pen, if I got it right. And I've got to say, though, when we got the pen, I loved I loved the way that Chesa lined up for the pen. He looked almost majestic in the way. If you watch it back, he's sort of like, he's almost like posing before he takes the penalty. But what he's actually doing is making sure that the keeper doesn't get a real clear indication as to where he's going to go and what he's going to do. That his body language is all about, I'm giving nothing away in the build up to this. But he seems supremely confident when we get penalties. And I think we've said last season that in previous years where we would have probably got a penalty thinking we're going to end up conceding here, and sorry, not scoring here, because we didn't have the confidence in our own abilities. He is supremely confident in his. And
but you know what? You know what, Tim? That's now got, psychologically, I've got to the point where, because he always scores, I've got to the point where going, well, he's going to have to miss this. He's going to have to miss one sooner or later. And I was utterly convinced it was going to be that one. It was like, Jerry always scores. So I'm thinking he's always scored. So he's going to miss. And then he just straight down the middle. Brilliant.
We've said this last year, didn't we, Tim? We were ultra confident with Jerry at the spot. He has missed one though. Didn't he miss one in a penalty shootout?
Was it not
Sure,
pre-season he missed one? Or have I made that up? No, he scored one pre-season, didn't he?
I've seen him miss one in a penalty shootout. I'm sure he has.
What are you thinking, West Brom?
Was it Fleetwood? Fleetwood. Do you remember we got lost?
The Tin Pot Cup in Fleetwood.
That don't count. That didn't happen. Not real.
That was tactical. We wanted out of that competition.
Oh yeah, he's got his competitive penalty miss out of the way in that game. So I'll see what he's done there.
Steve Hutchinson said FA Cup as well that he missed one then, but I can't remember that really. Perhaps
that was also tactical, just to set Gaz up for the one where he took the keeper's head off. So he did that one on purpose as well.
Which FA Cup game was it, Steve? We're all suffering from
the comment above it says West Brom, doesn't it? Yeah, West Brom.
It'd have been the shootout against West Brom, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. As long as he bangs him in the league, that's all that matters, isn't it?
Exactly.
Right, back on level terms, 60 minutes. Someone coming on how the rest of the game played out.
Well, probably the biggest.
I was going to say the Grant Ward injury, and I was going to ask because I think I was watching the Bournemouth, the most genteel set of fans. There was about 3 of them giving us grief, so I was kind of watching them when I just turned around and Ward was on the floor. And it's not on the highlights, obviously, so I have no idea how Grant Ward got injured. So that's
I know nothing. He just fell on the floor.
Having watched it back, he goes up for an unchallenged header. There's nobody about him. Wins the header and then just lands funny. And so it's not as a result of a challenge from a Bournemouth player. It's literally the way he's landed. And to be honest, when he initially laid on the floor, he doesn't look in a lot of pain. But
they're always the bad ones, aren't they? They're always
it's clearly a serious injury.
Yeah,
it was only when husband went over and he sort of bent over him and he just gave him like a proper. I've written it on the notes. It's like a proper mate hug. Like he sort of put his arms right round his shoulders and then like ruffled his hair. That I thought, actually, this isn't good.
Was it husband that came in? One of the players sort of looked towards us as well, didn't he? And sort of shook his head. And,
yeah.
It must have been husband, I think. But
I think it was.
That's when I realised it was obviously quite a bad injury because initially it wasn't. It was a bit, and then obviously you see the stretcher come on, which is fairly telling in itself.
Who came
on? John Jules goes off for Lavery, and Reece James comes on for Ward, doesn't he?
That's right. Yeah. So we're going to have to wrap this up. We're on 53 minutes already. So there's that much stuff happened. There was a couple of scares from Bournemouth. 74 minutes.
That Maxwell save right at the end as well.
Yeah.
Superb save.
Who was it from? Their header was. It was a header, wasn't it? From the.
Yeah, it was from the corner. Bowler passed it back, just rolled it out of play, and I thought, oh no!
Oh yeah, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, exactly. Because the clock was ticking down. It was like 95 minutes and 20 seconds or something.
I know. I was just blasting out for a corner from
just welling it out. And I thought, oh no, this has got disaster written on it. And Maxwell saved us. And really, apart from that, I don't remember them having that many chances. I don't remember us creating that many. And there was just a couple of absolutely storming Marvin recovery tackles, which just were, and I'd forgotten how good he was, where, he gets done and then you think, oh, he's been beaten, and then just bang. And he's always clean in the box. How does he not concede penalties? But he's superb. His time is outrageous.
I think the only thing I noticed as well was we looked a lot more confident in that. To be honest, after we scored the second goal, I thought if anybody was going to go on and win it, particularly when Lavery came on, it would be us. I didn't actually think we'd lose the game. I thought we were more likely to win it. And again, just going back to the fans, there was almost. It's not quite this, but it was like watching Samba football in the way the fans were and the way that they were singing throughout. It was almost like Blackpool were beating to the same drum as the fans in the stand, and it was a particularly pleasurable period of watching us because we did play with a little. Whilst we didn't create a lot of chances, we did play with a bit of swagger, I thought, and there seemed to be like this chemistry from the stands and what was going on the pitch, and that's probably one of the reasons why I enjoyed the trip to Bournemouth as much as I did, because I really felt that connection between the players and the fans, and it'll live long in the memory, that this one, I've got to say.
Definitely. Right, I think that wraps up the game. I think we could have talked for quite a greater period of time on this game. There's such chances and things going on in the game, so it was a great game anyway. And fully deserved point for Blackpool in the end. Right, so let's move on to the player ratings section of the show. Mitch, let's start with you. You can have Chris Maxwell.
I'm going to go for. I'm not sure. I'm going to go for 8. I wasn't sure watching the first goal back whether it went through him a bit, but I'm going to decide it didn't. I'm going to give him 8.
Sean, Callum Connolly. You've had plenty to say about Mr. Connolly and his right back role.
Yeah, just previously on Maxwell, sorry, his goal prevention rate at the moment is 1.6. So they're saying that already.
Goal prevention.
Goal prevention rate. Okay.
GPR.
So essentially,
Maxwell's GPR is 8.73.
So essentially, already with the chances that we've conceded, we should have conceded 1.5 more goals more than we have already, purely down to Maxwell's saves. So he's second in the league for it. So it shows that he's been able to step up. But with Connolly,
when did he save half a goal?
That was. I mean, to be fair, I think Richard Keogh was stat padding for him. To be honest, just letting him through. Just the whole game. Coventry's like, "Yeah, go ahead, it's fine." Like
stat padding, GPR. It's never ending this.
I'm literally like Lazarus said there. Yeah,
we're gonna start having Seanisms. Seanisms.
Comment there about me trolling at this point is probably pretty accurate.
Yep. If only someone is creating an A to Z glossary of football hipster terms. If only.
We're going to get someone for Opta on one day, and they're just going to go, none of these are things. He's just making it up. This is just crap.
Oh, where were we? Has anyone GPR'd Callum Connolly? No.
But I'll give you some more stats on Callum Connolly. You give me a second. Right. So he had 6 interceptions. Next highest on the pitch was 3. He had 3 successful tackles, which was the most on the pitch, and he had 4 successful aerial duels, 100% aerial duel rate, which again was first. So defensively wise, at the end of the day, we all know he's a centre half. Perfect defensive performance. I think the liabilities of the role that he needed to play in that game aren't down to him. It's down to the fact he's out of position. So if we're giving Maxwell an 8, I think I'll give Callum Connolly a 9.
Ooh, wasn't expecting that.
No.
That's thrown me now. It's taking me off my game.
We're just going to have to start giving it 11s and 12s now. Just to make up for this. He sent it too high early doors.
We need the international fielding player rating system to kick in just to normalise that anomaly. Big Marv for you, Tim.
I thought it was exceptional on Saturday, I've got to say. I think it was nearly the complete performance that you want from a centre half. We talked about him getting up the pitch. We talked about last-ditch challenges. The one time he made a mistake and got turned, he managed to get back and block the shot, which is, again, was another example of not giving up. And I'm really, really pleased to see him back. So if Connor's getting a 9, then so is Spud.
Well deserved. Another player that's had a great game. James Husband popped up with a goal. Last-ditch tackle. Can't ask for more than that from your centre half, can you, Mitch?
You can't, but I do agree that he was possibly a bit culpable for the first goal. I think he can be a bit slow to react sometimes, and so I would go with an 8+++ for him. And I think I'd almost tip into a 9 because when he scored,
you got 9 minus, Hang
on a minute, 9 minus. That's it. Perfect. 9 minus. That's perfect.
Let me stop you a minute. That isn't from the standard rating system. These extra pluses. I'd insist we stick to the fielding scale.
Right,
Well,
nine
I
minus
had
then.
to go
Nine
with Joe.
minus.
Joe, what's it? This 8.5 he was giving people. It was just, I nearly choked on my brew when I heard that.
You know, he
But when
choked on your foie gras, Tim, and your baby John.
When he scored, he didn't celebrate, and that is the coolest thing you can do on a football pitch. So it tips into 9- for me.
Where were we? Ooh, Luke Garbutt, you're getting all the good ones, Sean. Not as bad as Richard Keogh, or was he?
No, impossible. Literally impossible. I'd probably. I don't know. Again, it's like that's not his game, so I always like to give like an extra point for that. I won't go too harsh. Probably say, I mean, he was culpable for both goals, so I guess we've got to say 6 really in terms of the rest of the team. But it was, like I say, it's individual errors, but I don't expect him to be there long term and in those sort of defensive fullback position in the back four. I think when everyone's fully fit, I think Husband will slot across in games like that.
Fair comment. Kenny Dougal, Tim. Again.
I thought he got better as the game went on. I think he gave possession away quite a lot, I thought, in the first sort of 15, 20-minute period. But I'm really upset that we've lost Grant, because I think he and Dougal have got a bit of chemistry going there, and I think they always play well together, and I think we're going to miss him, particularly if
they were just starting to get into the stride. They were just starting to get into the stride again, weren't they? You know, after a bit of a rusty start to the season, the pair.
And I thought in the second half we saw the Dougal that sets the tone for the side. So I think his second half would be an 8, a first half a 6 probably. So I'm going to go mid-range and go with a 7.
Just to go on what Tim said, I almost in that game went, oh yeah, we have a midfield, because we just haven't in the previous games, and I thought that was a big thing.
Well, we did have, but now we've not. Grant Ward out injured. You had it and you've lost it. But what was Grant's performance like, Mitch, up until the point he sadly left the field on a stretcher?
Well, I think it was very Grant Ward, so I think it was probably a 7. Solid 7. It was very Grant Ward. He did what Grant Ward does, which never stands out particularly. But then now you go, oh, he's not there. You panic, that's the essence of Grant Ward, isn't it? He's the battery in the watch, so to speak.
The essence of Grant Ward. Maybe the commercial department can bring out a fragrance for men. Christmas. Have a word with Martin Booker. Martin, if you're watching, get a big order in the essence of Grant Ward. I'm sure it'll fly off the shelves.
Eau de Keo.
Sounds a bit like oh Dickie, oh.
On every night.
Oh, that works actually. Oh, Dickie, oh. He's called Richard.
Oh,
get it?
Where's that tumbleweed?
I think there's a. Have I got a highbrow? I'm too highbrow for you. Type sound effect. Anyway, no. Okay, I'll go with a tumbleweed then. Can't believe that got tumbleweeded. Disgrace. In the mood now. Josh Bowler, who are we on? I've lost track.
Me. Give it me.
Go on then.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah. Did you have Ward, Matt?
I had Ward, yeah, 7.
Yeah. I mean, Bowler was first half, as we say, kind of getting to grips with the game. I think that he was trying to pin their fullback high, so he wasn't able to overlap. And obviously, we kind of got a bit overrun in the first half. But then once we settled down, I mean, like I said before, his ability to draw fouls is, like you said, his ability to just drive at every opportunity. He doesn't care if he loses the ball or come back and do it again. That's your star quality, really. You want to play. Everyone wants a player like that out wide. That's exactly what you want from a winger. And I think I never like to get too carried away by wingers, because I think you need a bigger sample size from wingers. I think if you're looking at a position on the pitch where players come in and out of form, it's out wide, because if you've not got the confidence at that point, then you're not going to beat your man. And it's all about confidence in that position, more so than anywhere else on the pitch. So until he's probably played another 8 or 9 games at this level, I won't get too carried away. But he's like he's got all the attributes to really be the main man this season in terms of us going forward. So I'd give him a 9.
Heard another Seanism then. Sample size.
They're coming thick and fast today, aren't they?
Sample size.
I'm going to have to up the game. I don't know what I'm going to have to get the thesaurus out, I think.
I'm actually I'm off work this week, and so one of my main tasks is going to be get a sound effect for a Seanism. So we've got this for the Timism. Might go with one more, a digital one, to tie in with stats and data. That
crunching the numbers.
Yeah.
What's that Kraftwerk song about? I am the computer or something.
Right, where were we? Keshi Anderson, Tim.
Yeah, I
won the pen.
It's really warming to be able to. We didn't see a particularly good version of him before he got injured. I didn't think last season, but I think since he's come back from injury, he almost looks like a new player. And probably the play. I think that there was a story going around. He was carrying an injury, wasn't he, at the start of last season, and that was perhaps hampering his performances. But I think he's been a revelation. I think sticking him out on the left, he's doing a job for us, but it's not bringing out the best of him. And when he does come inside, we actually see, particularly his link-up play with Jerry Yates is really, really good to watch. And he wins the pen, as you say. I don't think he quite hits the heights of the ones who've received 9s, but he's going to get a Tim 8+ for a very, very effective and entertaining performance. I've got to say, entertaining. Like, I loved his attempted back heel to Jerry Yates. That didn't quite come off, but if it had, it would have put Jerry right through, and it could have been like the goal of the season. So keep it up.
Keep it up, Keshi. That could be like a ball on a string from the club shop.
I tell you, if Martin Booker's watching this, he's got a Christmas sorted, hasn't he? Something for the dads and something for the kids.
The fan engagement opportunities are just flowing, aren't they? They really are.
Exponential growth in the balance sheet of the commercial.
Well, the range of the club shop, yeah, absolutely. Spot on. Who are we on?
Jezza,
is it me?
Yeah.
7+ because he played well, but until he got the penalty, I think he still looked as if he was lacking a bit of confidence, and he scored a penalty, but it's a penalty, so 7+. If Grant Wood's a 7, Jez is having a 7+. There we go.
I think it's just good to get him off the mark, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It took him so long to get going last season, and when we did, we saw a match-winning player, and hopefully he's got it under the belt a lot earlier this year, and he can move on from that.
Well, just as you picked Keshi's back heel, his dummy to let the ball through to Keshi was beautiful, and it's something I don't think he would have done 15 minutes earlier.
Well, just very quickly rewinding back to Keshi, I like the fact he's squared up to 2 players in a row now. So that centre-half monster from Cardiff, when he was like looking up at him, and he got in someone's face as well, didn't he? So I like to see
Ben
that.
Pearson, wasn't it?
Yeah, and a knobber.
I think Bison's has got another one for the club shop.
Oh, that's very good.
Hang on. A key ring with straight through the key. Oh. I'll give you that one, Bisons. That's a hat trick of new products for Martin. We only want 10% commission, Martin. So, make it happen. Finally, John Jules. Who are we on? Sorry, John Jules.
I thought as we've sort of said before, it's his best game in a Blackpool shirt. I think what shows with him is that we have every single striker is a different type of option. So you've got Lavery that will run in behind. Jerry's kind of the more complete forward. Then you've got Lavery that will run straight in behind and be direct. And you if you're playing against a higher line and trying to play through, then he's the ideal player. If you've got someone there with John Jules that can pick the ball up deep, he can drive with it, and he's got such a good weight of pass as well. I think you saw that. He had 3 key passes in the game, and that wasn't including the offside. So the most key passes in the game, another stat for you there. it's just the weight of pass, and he can clearly create chances. He's just a very good technical player, and I think he'll improve as the games go on in terms of being able to hold the ball up if we're going long to him and becoming more of an option in that fashion. But I would quite like to see him perhaps playing off the left and coming inside a bit like the Anderson role. I think that putting Anderson, if we do play a 4-2-3-1, perhaps then putting him out there and putting Anderson in the 10. But again, I think he's improving. I think it's another good technical player that we've got there, and that's important, I think, going forward. So an 8 from me.
Excellent. Right, let's fire through the manager rating now. Tim, over to you. What do you think of Critch's performance today?
I think
Saturday rather.
Yeah, he gets big brownie points for having recognised and dealt with the gaping hole in the defence. Although I think anybody would have realised that. And I actually think he's done the right decision by sticking with John Jules ahead of Lavery, based on what I saw on Saturday and again this afternoon. And for that reason, he's getting an 8+.
Mitch?
Well, my halftime tweet was something along the lines of Critch, do something now, not on 68 minutes when it's too late, as you always do, or something like that. So he gets full marks for once again ignoring me, because every time I commit anything to the internet at halftime,
you put that in your blog, didn't you? I read that today. I read that.
It does the opposite, and it always works. So I think probably I'm going to use the fielding scale, 8+. 8+. I don't think we maybe was quite set up for them, but to the other big weakness we had was that he almost never seemed to fire him up at half time. He seems capable of that now, and they came out fighting. So 8+, big credit to him.
Sean?
Yeah, I think he was bang on. Really, I think, as I said before, the 2 goals were 2 individual mistakes. I think perhaps if Gretterson was coming back, because we thought initially that he may just throw him in, but I think he's probably just going to bide his time and put him in midweek. But if Gretterson had been available, he would have dropped Garbutt and put Husband out to the left personally. So it's a personnel thing. You don't have the personnel available. You just got to kind of put people in there. But when we actually weren't making individual errors, which are kind of unavoidable for a manager's sake, we were pretty bob on, and we looked brave in possession. We looked brave pressing high up defensively as well, which is something that we need to do in this division if we want any chance. And we looked like the Blackpool that got promoted, so a 9 from me.
We've actually forgot to do man of the match, so we'll just do that before we head off. So there's quite a few contenders, Mitch.
I'm Marvin.
No, you're not, you Mitch.
No, well, I'm Matt actually, but we're getting into that.
How are you?
Well, I can be. I was going to say I'll be whoever you want me to be, but that sounds weird. That sounds weird. We're getting back
like
into
you do on a spooning trip to
quite
Bournemouth with a German, doesn't it?
Well. We're getting back to the old days of the penthouse, and let's not go there.
Wonder if that's been cleaned yet.
Anyway, Marvin Equiteta, 9. No, man of the match. Just because
he's lost it now, and he's lost it.
Yeah, gone.
Just because I think it was from the moment I saw his name in the team sheet, I thought, thank God. And I don't think that was entirely, because I think maybe people, me included, have maybe gone slightly overboard on Richard Keogh. And he lived up to it, because how many times do you see that thing where there's like that one change you want to see, and when it happens, it makes no difference, and Marvin made a huge difference to that back line. So I'm going with Marvin.
Sean?
Yeah, the same. I think, like you were saying there about the Keogh thing, I was craving for Marvin to come back in from minute 1 of the first game of the season anyway. So it's that confidence on the ball. It's the confidence to take risk. He's the exact type of centre-half that Critchley wants, and he's becoming the exact type of character in terms of the way that he builds off from the start of games. He really imposes himself in games now, and he was quite passive at times in League One. I think he really imposes himself on games. So definitely Marvin, and I think this probably will be one of many this season.
I'm going to concur with the other two. Big Marv, absolutely brilliant seeing back in the team. Just a superb commanding performance. So, Tim, give us yours and we'll see the show out after your
Yeah, I don't think I can actually add to the eloquency of the other contributors. I think it's just Marv all the way.
Tim Fielding cannot add to the eloquency.
No.
What?
I seriously think they've made the points. They made the points very well, and we're on 1 hour 15 minutes. I thought I should keep my submission short.
To for the first time ever.
First time ever.
Yeah, it's the first time for.
I'll come back with a vengeance. I promise you.
Right, everybody. Thanks ever so much for joining us, lads. As Tim just said, it's an hour 15, so we're gonna say goodbye now. Coming back on the preview show on Thursday, we do have a game against Sunderland tomorrow, so we'll be covering that as well. As you can tell on the ticker there, please like and subscribe. What day is it? I thought it was Monday. I thought it was Monday. Tuesday, yeah. Right. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and up the pool.
Up the pool.
Up the pool.
Up the pool.
Small town from the north of England with a great tradition.